key component of getting an artist signed to a record label is the hype process. So it's really, really important to create excitement around an artist in order to get them signed. You know, it's really not, you know, you can send a demo to a record company and hope they come back and say, oh, this is great, let me sign you. You can hope that's going to happen, but it really ain't.
You actually have written a book. Can you just quickly give people an insight what that book was about?
I wrote a novel called The Thin Pale Foursome, and the Thin Pale Foursome is basically a symbol for all the thousands and thousands of bands that are up and down the country playing in terrible pubs and bars and clubs. And if you work in A&R in a record company, if you're a talent scout, wherever you go, you could go to Coventry, you could go to Dublin, you could go to Brighton. If you go into a venue, you will always find a Thin Pale Foursome, without fail. So the book is basically about a guy who's been in the music industry quite a while, and he knows how the industry works. And as he's been an A&R man, but he's never found anybody. He knows he can never really blow his own trumpet, because you're nobody in the A&R world unless you've found someone. And he's never ever found anyone. And it's always been a source of frustration to him. So one day he discovers this girl, and she's like, wow. Just he finds a girl. And he manages her. She has a manager at the time who's kind of her older sister, but she's not doing a very good job. So he says, look, let me manage your girl. I know how the industry works. And the two of them are kind of really cynical. They're like, yeah, you know, what can you do, what can you do? And he says, watch. And he takes over the management of this girl. And because he understands how the music industry works, he knows that a key component of getting an artist signed to a record label is the hype process. So it's really, really important to create excitement around an artist in order to get them signed. You know, it's really not, you know, you can send a demo to a record company and hope they come back and say, oh, this is great, let me sign you. You can hope that's going to happen, but it really ain't. The way things happen is because of hype. So if you manage an artist, you've got to create excitement. You've got to have people talking about your artist. So this guy sets about getting this girl signed. So the book is all about the hype process and what he does to get everybody excited and to get all of the A&R people kind of arguing within themselves about who's going to offer this girl a bigger deal. Because what you've got to do is play these A&R people off each other. So you're able to go into an office and say, would you like to sign my girl? Just thought I'd let you know, I've been to see your boy at this record company here, and he's offered me that. And I've been to see your girl at this record company here, and she's offered me that. What are you saying? So it's the process of kind of building up, you know, excitement and hype about an artist. And the book is basically about the process of hype.
The book's still readily available for people?
The book is something that I self-published, so anybody can buy it online.
Okay, and where could they actually get the actual book?
It's through a really good website called lulu.com. www.lulu.com.
Is there any other plans to publish any more books after that?
Well, me and one of my oldest friends in the music industry, a guy called Dave VJ, we are compiling a book at the moment which is about the history of British black music radio, and we've nearly finished. We're just rounding up the pictures right now and getting it designed. And what we've done is we've asked for contributions from people who were around in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, just to sort of tell us what it was like back in the day before Kiss FM and Choice FM and Colourful Radio and MTV Bass. So we've asked them to give us their recollections of how they listened to their music. So we've got contributions from Trevor Nelson, from David Rodigan, from Robbie Vincent, from Greg Edwards, from Peter Young, Graham Gold, you know, people who were there back in the day. And fantastic contributions from journalists as well, and punters as well, just people who actually got in a car and drove 300 miles just to hear their favourite tunes. And there's lots of great anecdotes. There's one great anecdote from one journalist. He lived in North London, he lived in Wood Green, and his favourite pirate radio station was in South London, and it was really difficult to pick it up. So what he did was he unwound all of these metal coat hangers in order to create an aerial above his bedroom window that went up this way and across this way and down this way. Plugged it into his radio, and that was the only way he could hear his favourite pirate radio station in South London. And that was the extent that some people went to just to hear their music. So it's a book written about those times by the people who were actually there. And Dave and I hope to publish it sometime this year.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic, because a lot of us growing up, a lot of the young people growing up, they haven't had that type of struggle to get music, you know, the radio, not picking up the frequency. And I think that's definitely, it's good to melt that time.
Yeah, I mean, it was a difficult time. It's like there were two main shows on the radio. There was a guy called Robbie Vincent who did a show on Radio London, Saturday morning 11:30. There was a guy called Greg Edwards who did a show on Capital Radio, Saturday evening. And, you know, this is a time when everybody used cassettes. So what you did was you recorded those shows from the radio so that you could listen to their shows all week long, because that was, you know, like your own little pirate radio station. So that was it. And those two shows, in fact, most people just didn't leave their houses until Greg Edwards' show had finished. And then when Rodigan started first doing his radio shows, people couldn't leave the house until he'd finished, and he started even later. So that's why parties began starting later and later and later, because, you know, people just couldn't leave the house until Rodigan's show had finished.